Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Politics and Prophecy with Mary. Now, was it just me, or did I not see Trump put his hand on the Bible? Was it just me, or maybe it was just my perspective, my angle from the television network that I was watching? But nonetheless, whatever. I don't know if you did or not, but I just don't remember seeing it there because I know Melania got there a little late, so I don't recall his hand being on the Bible. So, we'll leave that there. But anyway. What are my thoughts regarding this presidency? Well, first off, due to the cold, there was not a huge crowd to witness the occasion. So we're not going to have the press secretary say anything off the wall about that. And the crowd size in the auditorium slash arena doesn't count. Moving on. What do I expect to happen with the presidency of Donald Trump? I expect an individual that will do everything he wanted to do the first term without restraint. I blame the Supreme Court for failing to understand that when it comes down to giving a person an inch, they will take a whole mile. Matter of fact, they're going to take a mile around the world multiple times. What I'm trying to say is that what you do not understand is that you've given power to someone who could technically, in one way or the other, finesse you and take power from you. In other words, there will be no need for Congress or the Supreme Court because if he's going to defy the law and get away with it, then what is the point of defying or not defying the Supreme Court when they make a ruling and he decides to be, well, I'll just do an executive order and I don't have to abide by it. What you gonna do? Arrest me? You made a law that says I can't be prosecuted for things that I perceive to be my rightful duty to do as a president, and it doesn't appear to be illegal. So I think it's my duty to do it. So yeah, if you appear to be the person that is interfering with the functionality of the United States, even if you're the Supreme Court, then technically you can't do anything to me based on the law that you made that I'm immune to prosecution. So there's no need to even make laws if he can break them. If he perceives those laws not to be legitimate and or going against his natural abilities as a president, which indirectly or directly you have given him the power to do so, whether it be a cognitive choice or a actual physical thing he does, you have given him too much room because you wanted to make it flexible for your own benefit. You also put a rigidness on your own rules. So good luck with that. I perceive that everything would be okay for the first couple of weeks, but eventually we will begin to see the eradication of the institutions that have made the United States strong. Even with loose threads, our quilt has remained strong, covering us and protecting us all these hundreds of years. But when you start allowing scissors to take away what has kept us together, it's your fault. It's our fault as Americans if we voted him in, and it's our fault for putting justices in and giving people the right to choose those justices, meaning we voted for them, and then they pick those justices, and therefore there's a domino effect of the effects of that. It is our fault as a nation that we entrusted individuals with so much power to dictate us decades down the road, dictate what happens to our kids. Now, the prophecy part of my channel that I don't often reveal. I've had multiple dreams stretching from last year about certain stores being empty. I will not say which stores these are, but there are your everyday around the corner. Every time you look, they are there. And if you know that you know that you know exactly which one I'm talking about. Okay. I went to two locations. The first time I went to this location, we were allowed to enter into this location, but they would not give us a buggy. They only let us get the little carry baskets because they were restricting how much of the merchandise we could get. Second time I went to the same location, there was nothing there, no cars in the parking lot. There was nothing on the shelves you could see through the window. It was empty and it was closed down, a vacant lot. Then this year, or more so at the end of last year, running into this year, I had another dream about a second location not too far from this other location. And I said, I'm going to go to this one because I don't want to go to the one that I actually was just referring to in this dream. And so I took my normal route to this location. And what do I see? Absolutely nothing. I couldn't even see in the store. They had blackened the windows. They had put a distribution center beside it, pulling things out of the store, putting in this distribution center. And I saw people wheeling big merchandise and other types of merchandise somewhere else, and then they had a 25% sale on what was left. But that store had completely shut down, and we were literally shopping out of the distribution center. And when I say distribution center, I am talking about your readily available small, very small warehouse, maybe about the size of a school gym. And that goes along with some other prophets who have discussed the fact that there will come a time where there are going to be store closures and places that normally are stocked full of items. You can't, every time you turn around, you're running into a cart full of cardboard boxes. They're going to be empty or have hardly anything in them. And so I say that to say this: everything seems okay now, but there are some situations that people can put in motion that they cannot see the effects down the road. And I honestly believe that there's going to be a snowball effect, a domino effect with some of the policies that he puts in place. Now, some other commentators, they use a lot of other colorful language and they exaggerate some things or what have you, but I'm a straight shooter. I don't have time for the yellow journalism and all that good old stuff. Yes, I have some history background, but I'm not going to be on TV on a public broadcasting network discussing a roundtable about historical facts because I'm getting a little old now and I can't remember everything I used to teach. But I will say that when it comes down to the world, when it comes down to imperialism, when it comes down to nationalism, when it comes down to alliances, and it comes down to militarism, you have the formula for a world war. Now, we've had other wars start because of a certain leader being eradicated. Then we had other wars because people were upset about being blamed for the previous wars. But what we have now is a high level amount of strain on world power and domination. We have imperialism in so many ways, but it's more of a new form. It's more undercover. If you are a person that pays attention, you'll understand that it's clear imperialism. We have a scramble for Africa part two, but we also have individuals that have no idea that we could be in a situation where we have Hoovervilles again. We are in a place where science does matter. And if you can't understand that in the South, where we grow nice fruits and vegetables, and our planting season is just around the corner, and we're having this weird weather that things can go left really quickly. You have the bird flu situation that may affect our eggs, that could eventually affect our chicken, that could affect how we eat food from any animal for those of us who do. We are looking at grocery stores full of food, but we have no idea what the future holds. This could be 2 months from now. This could be 1 month from now. This could be 8 months from now. This could be 2 years from now. But you prepare for war in the time of peace. We have prayer and we have prophecy and we have judgment and we have the wrath of God that Israel had to endure, that other nations had to endure. But God does take care of his people, but that does not mean that suffering will not occur. So when it comes down to Trump, I will say this: there are some spiritual elements of his policies that I do respect. But when it comes down to some of his other policies, they are honestly just unfair, unjust, and unethical. And even when someone is out of order, there is still an order in which you put them back in place. And I do not support people being able to come over our borders. I just don't. Because some of us were forced here, Some of us arrived on boats. But regardless, if there are certain legal things put in place to fix those issues and you abide by those things, then that's one thing. But you cannot just have an open border because you have no idea who is coming through your border. And it is very true that there are a lot of people that honestly do want a better chance at life. But you can't come to a place and think that you're gonna be given everything when there are people currently in this country that are citizens, there are veterans who are living on the street, who have substance abuse problems, who have money problems, who don't have all of their benefits from the government, from the military stays. So we cannot benefit others over Americans, but we can still treat everybody with dignity and respect. No, I don't perceive you should be giving anybody a bunch of money and putting them up in hotels when you got veterans living on the street in these low temperatures and when the summer was here in extremely hot temperatures. But I do perceive that you should put them in a shelter if you have to build a makeshift shelter and give them certain types of comfort with certain types of beds. You don't have to give them steak and shrimp, but you can give them something to drink. You can give them something decent to eat. You can make sure they are clean. And there are certain jobs that they can do while they are waiting to get where they need to get to. And then you also cannot just dump people that in somebody else's country where they didn't come from, but got a problem with them coming in your country. How would you feel if somebody dumped a bunch of foreigners into your country and you saying like, what are you doing? They're not from here. Well, you can't do that to somebody else. So we do have a problem. But the only thing we can tell Mexico is the same way they came through. You need to go on, let them go and travel back through because they came through your way. But some of these other people came from Canada. Some of these people came with with expired visas. So there's a lot of issues going on with the system, and that does need to be fixed. But again, you still treat everybody with decency, and when they come over here, they must respect the laws of the land and treat people over here with decency, and not lock people up on subways and all that foolishness. And that was just an egregious, dysfunctional, devilish, demonic attack on another human. And that was wrong and it was despicable and highly disgusting. So, like I said, I don't honestly expect much peace from this administration. I don't really care what anyone's opinion is. This is my opinion. I don't expect much peace from this administration when it comes down to the policies and even enforcing those policies. I honestly believe that the world is about to experience a level of uncertainty and dysfunction that they've never seen, and it may not be immediate. It sometimes is a slow, steady fall. But we must be mindful that anytime you get in any position or do anything and there was any trickery or there was anything that was done out of order, that there is a high cost for low living. And whatever comes from this presidency, if it in fact was not legitimate, if there was some funny business going on anywhere, the consequences will not be necessarily immediate. It's almost as if a person who cheats their way into medical school and then they go through med school and now they have a job and they actually have to save someone's life and they have no idea what they're doing, and as a result that person loses their life because someone cheated their way to medical school and they knew the people who gave them their degree knew they cheated their way, and even though they were not there in that room where that surgery happened, where that person could have saved that person's life if they had done what they were supposed to do in the beginning, they're still where it started because it wasn't taken care of at the moment, where it wasn't nipped in the bud. Like, you cheated, you need to take this class over because you are going to be doing surgery on someone's life and you have to know what you're doing. Take the class over, you're failing. If this indeed was not a legitimate win, and this man is in place and in power, and he creates policies and makes moves that leads to the degrading and the destruction and the demise of this nation and all these hundreds of years, whether they were bad years, we've had bad years in this nation's history. But our laws and stuff, although in the past allowed some wrong things, the essence of America is hanging in the balance. If we have elected someone who chose themselves over us, over the Constitution, over the fabric and the history of this nation, we will know in time, but we will not be able to change the consequences. Because even if that person quits that practice because they didn't know what they were doing from med school, it does not change the fact that a patient lost their lives because someone okayed that person to graduate knowing that they had no right to. That they cheated their way through medical schools, that they probably cheated their way in their residencies, cheated their way all the way through. But when the rubber meets the road, when real life has to happen, that is where you will see, oh my God, did we make a mistake? Or did we not? Could it be that this presidency could go down in history as the best presidency? Only heaven knows. Hell does too. It could also be one of the worst decisions we've ever made in the history of this nation. And history, if we're able to tell it, will write about it, and our lives will forever be changed because of it. Because one thing that people who fail to know history, they will repeat it, whether they know they're repeating it. They don't even know which part of history they're repeating it. I do. If this goes left, there's only one road that can be taken. It won't be two roads diverged, and I had to choose one over the other. It would be a clear path to self destruction, to the degrading of a superpower that so many nations and empires have experienced in our history. No matter how powerful they were, no matter how great, it's always a decision that causes something that cannot be undone. And it is the demise of a nation. This is a great nation. This is a powerful nation. But power in the wrong hands is very detrimental because some leaders will burn a nation to the ground if it meant that they could still rule it. I don't know if we have one of those in office at this point or not. I just know that time will tell. And it's not always the person in the office. It's sometimes the person sitting at the table. To Jesus is to Judas. Somebody is to Donald Trump. And one thing that we don't know, and one thing that he might not really ever know, who the real Judas is sitting at his table. And the reason why you may not never know who that Judas is because the failure to understand that power is very important. But the abuse of power creates doors that you can't see that people that you never would think would walk through would do it. But we kind of know some people that would. I just don't think he does. Time will tell.